Okay, Oak Ridge National Laboratory is currently managed by Department of Energy, the US Department of Energy. It is like any other federal agencies like NASA or Geological Survey guys. So back in 1940s, it was started as a secret city. It is called as a Manhattan Project. How many of you know this guy? So yeah, so he wrote a letter to the President Roosevelt at that time, and he said like he found some amazing element which you can use it for making bombs. So they built this secret city. Nobody knew it was in that valley until like it is totally finished. So people were brought from various places within US, and they were all working in like 160 buildings, and nobody knew what they were working on. Like nobody knew the big picture until when the news broke after they produced something. So it was so they call it as a secret city. Even like if you look at the city map, it looks like a rocket head, rocket nose. So that's the lab. They produced the nuclear material that went into the Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And after the World War, they made it as a public lab, any other scientific laboratory. And people from all over the world, they worked there, and in wide range of science. So here is the campus now. So this is the campus that I come from. It's a national security complex. We do a lot of work related to climate change, related to the energy. And then, so the top left photo, the central building, this one actually holds the world's second or third top fastest supercomputer today. It was top number one a few months ago until China and Japan beat us. So that's the one. And then here, there is a huge spallation neutron source building. It's a big complex, and it looks like a space building. There are like, I don't know, 500, 600 people work there. The primary focus there is to actually use the neutron to study the material at nanoscale, or even like sub-nanoscale. And here is another campus which has all the different. Which one is the center? Oh, the center. That's okay, don't worry. So that's a brief history of Oak Ridge. Okay, so where we are, as I said, we house number 2 or number 3 fastest supercomputer. And here's my second question: how many of you have desktop computers? How many cores in your computer? Is it a dual core or quad core? Or? Okay. So anybody can tell me like how many quad core computers you have here? Have you used that? Typically, the laptops are like dual core. There are quad core computers too. The PCs are quad core, meaning 4 cores, right? So this guy, this beast, got 3 million, closer to 3 million cores. And you can imagine the size of the throne is probably the size of our auditorium, the square feet. And we have a separate power station, nuclear power station to power this guy. and there are like so many applications that are running in the computer. So you can actually think about what you can do with 3 million cores. What we use here is four cores. Right? So what do they use for? They use for various things like quantum physics, weather forecasting. So I can tell you one example that I was talking to the director about a few minutes ago. During the tsunami days, we had a call from our government saying that how can we help the tsunami affected countries, right? So we actually host the NASA satellite data, and also we have the world population database in our computing facility. And one of our senior scientists, from Kolkata, actually originally, he and his team, some of my colleagues, they were put into a room 24 hours, like they literally threw the pizza through the door. You guys need to work there. You need to do something to find it. So we took the satellite image before the tsunami and after the tsunami, and then we actually took the population database and then did some heavy analysis using this guy. And within 24 hours, we were able to tell, okay, we are ready to make a call to Indonesia. And then, so we actually talked to the foreign governments and told them specifically, okay, in this region, specifically looking at the satellites and looking at the world population, the database itself, like there are 500,000 people probably affected. So please send the aids very quickly. So they were able to do that, and they saved quite a bit of human lives, basically. So that's one application. And again, there are so many other things like climate research. Based on what happened in the past 50 years, the scientists are using the same data and then trying to run simulations and model for the next 100 years how it is going to be. Of course, it's a simulation. You cannot go to the future to study. So what we are doing is like providing all the data that we have been collecting since early 90s, and then validating those models the scientists use, which goes into this climate change prediction, the IPCC committee and all, saying that, okay, so the sea level will rise to 2 meters, or we will see 2 degrees Celsius increase in the next every 25 years. So those things, those numbers came from simulations that are performed computers like this. It's a national user facility, meaning that any citizen in this earth can access that. So you need to write a proposal, of course, and then they will evaluate and they will tell you whether your work really needs a supercomputer like this. Any questions? Are there more questions? Not even scenario questions? Yeah, my work here is, so we get sensor data and then satellite data, primarily atmospheric data, and we host the data, about like 2 petabytes data in total, in a high performance storage system, 2 petabytes, right? So I don't know what the capacity here, but I can tell you like probably 2 terabytes here. But I get about 3 terabytes of data every day from various places, including the satellite and all. So we host there, and we do a lot of analysis and provide value-added products to all over the world. And the website that my team hosts, it gets about 1,000 orders a day from various places. And we do get visitors, and if you ever visit there, I will be able to take you guys inside and show you some details about how the cooling is done and all those things. Okay, I promise you this is probably the most scientific slide I have. Okay, then the rest will be very much like what I spent the last 10 minutes. So these are the data centers that I manage, part of my data center group. And the first one is Archive, which is Atmospheric Radiation Measurement Program. It's all about measuring the radiation that comes from the sun, and then how it gets reflects from the earth or from the cloud, and how it affects the cloud life cycle. I mean, if you stop and think how the cloud is forming, and all this radiation affects the cloud formation, and eventually how it affects the precipitation. And I can correlate that the life cycle to any application, including agriculture. There. So we actually, this is kind of old slide. Right now, I have about 560 terabytes of data here. And then there is an Earth System Grid Federation database. It hosts that. Anybody guess who won the climate change studies Nobel Prize in the last couple of years? A celebrity? Al Gore. Anybody know Al Gore? Okay. He used to be our vice president. He ran for president of the US. And so that's the data center. The CDAC, which is called Carbon Dioxide Information and Analysis Data Center, it hosts a little bit of data. I mean, I can pick it from the thumb drive, but we get about like 300 data from folks like PIs and postdocs. And we actually prepare the data so that like we can archive and distribute the data. Data is so important. I will get into that. Okay, you may not feel that necessary right now. You run an experiment and then like you use it for your paper. Soon, I'm working with the various publishers, including Thomson Reuters and elsewhere. They're all going to come up with this new requirement. If you write a paper, if you publish a paper, if you put data or refer a graph or something, they're going to ask you, okay, where is your data? Can I access the data? And you have to provide the data also with your publication. This is going to happen in a couple of years. Quote me on that. Okay. So data is very, very critical. Don't lose the data. Dr. Sen was telling about having a database and trying to preserve your data. So it's a great initiative, and I would like to see that continue. Here's the NASA data centers. There are 9, and we extended it to 11 data centers. If you need any data from NASA, it will come from one of these data centers. And this is my data center, which is primarily for biogeochemical data. So if you ever need of NASA imagery or something, feel free to send me an email. And I do have some customers from agronomy and soil science. They use some of my data there.
What kind of data?
These are ranging from anywhere soil moisture to cloud cover to land cover. So mostly from satellite, basically. Yeah. And I do have, if I have to correlate, I do have one database which is called Global Biodiversity Information Facility. It's run by folks in Copenhagen, but then we host a North American mirror there, where we have about 400 million biological species database. So you can think about like the herbarium that we have here. If we have any species that will be digitized and put it into the database, and people or scientists can actually put it in the database. So that's the closest biological database that I have. And talked about the atmospheric radiation measurement program. It's all about studying the life cycles, right? The aerosol life cycle, cloud life cycle, and how it affects the precipitation. And it's one of the biggest climate change observational experiment or project that US supports. Right now it's $70 million per year project, and so I host all the data. If anybody wants the data, it has to go through my team basically. We have sites, permanent sites, from one in Oklahoma, one in Alaska, and one in Australia, and we have been collecting data related to atmosphere and land using sensors, very unique sensors, for the last 22 years actually. And you can actually see how much data that we get and how much data that the red one is actually going out. Some visualizations. So people who like visualizations, you can think about this. So this is done by Google Earth actually. You're using the weather scanner radar to actually profile the vertical atmosphere cloud basically. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about data, right? So we've been talking about data. So as I said, data is not about these guys. Like whatever you are preparing, not even people like my kids. The data, like when you prepare the data and then when you preserve the data, it's all about these guys. Right? So 20 years from now, whatever you do need to be understandable by these babies. Right? So think from that perspective. Whatever you prepare now, whatever you run now, and you write a paper, think your data can be somehow preserved. It's a challenge. I've been talking with Dr. Sindhu on that. It's been challenged to find a repository and all. But think about it. Like when I say we use last 50 years of data to predict something in the next 100 years, I mean, think about the potential that you guys launch, like your data launch. So when you have the data, try to preserve it. How do you preserve it? Well, it involves various stages, right? So when you collect the data and you go your PI or your professor, you go and talk about the data, you assure it and you actually try to describe it, like it all goes to your paper, right? And then you say, like you have it in your computer, and then you say, okay, I'm done my work and I published my work. Can I just clean up my disk? No, it should not be cleaning up your disk. You should be sending it to at least to your PI server, and so that it can live there. And then hopefully, like these are the things that we work, and I know it's all getting familiar here, but once you preserve that, you can actually make it, publish your actual data in those journals so that other people can actually discover and use your data and properly cite your data like the way you cite your journals, and you will get credit to your data. I know many of you are undergraduate students, and trying to give you something very basic here. So when you start running your experiment, this is a bad example. Okay, so this is the example that we use in all the presentations. This is really bad example. Imagine if you give this to your scientist before you leave. Do you think the scientist will understand from the file name? Right. So I will say _test.dat. File name itself, and then there is one called That's the data file. This is a copy from a scientist's computer actually. This is the directory screenshot from a scientific computer. So say strap. It says not bad. Probably he used that for publication. Okay. So anyway, when you name your data files, make it meaningful, and use stable file formats. I'm not sure what file format you use. Is there any standards to standards for the file format, like compressed file format, like zip file kind of thing. So again, so find out from your community and provide a descriptive file name, as I said, not like .dat. And preserve the information and provide some README file along with your data file, so that whoever tries to use your data in the future can actually read about some summary about the data that you have it in that file. So hopefully they will use it in their analysis so that they don't have to repeat what you did, so they can pick it from where you left. So there's quite a bit of possibilities of reusing the data. Of course, protect your data. Don't keep it in your laptop and then think that laptop is the safest place in the world. So I have lost 3 laptops so far. You might last 10 years. Fortunately, I had a backup, so I was able to bring back all the contents within a few days. So if you are running any experiment, if you keep something in your local computer, at least have one more copy, and that needs to be outside of your computer. So that's, I guess you guys are doing that already for all your Facebook photos, right? At least you have two different copies. Okay, talking about data, when you run an experiment, for example, so this is what we typically collect, right? So when did we measure that, and sample ID, location, and what did we measure? So this is really good for you guys, individual guys, or a small team within the project. But when you try to distribute your data to outside world, so these are the additional things that you need. Again, it's a little bit of a list, but when you have, this is what you need to prepare or provide in order to publish your data to the world, basically. So this is what my team does all the time. When we get data from PIs, we actually work with them and try to really describe in a standard way so that other people can understand that data and use it. So this is very critical. Talking about the publication stuff, as I said, I've been working with publishers to actually link the data from an article to the data center. So just imagine that this is your paper, and then like you have some couple of graphs that validates your theory or whatever findings, and then if somebody wants to use your data to really review and then refer your data, the journal folks are currently, publishers are working on having a direct link to the data that you are using. So this way, the future readers will be able to not only read your article, but also can access your data. Okay. Clear on that? So far in the last 2 months, we received 2 applications. And those jobs are directly relevant to these things. How do you collect data, and how do you preserve the data, and what kind of data processing you'll be doing, and what kind of mining you'll be doing. How many of you are familiar with MATLAB? Any? Good. I'm glad that at least one showed up. MATLAB, how many of you are familiar with R, the statistical package? So you like R? So there's a big potential for people with strong R background. It is a statistical package, open source statistical package. And various data visualizations like Google Earth, Google API, S3's map server, and all those things. and people who can actually study the data and then say, okay, so this is really good quality data. No, there are problems with calibration here, so here is the data quality report. So those kind of report needs to be prepared for every data that we get. So we need somebody who can read through the data and find the errors. So there's a high demand for that. And of course, data modeling is a high-hanging fruit, I guess I would say. If you get into that, you will be, who knows, like you'll be one of the top popular guy in the world, because that's the modeling activity that predicts how the future is going to look like, how hot we will feel within a few years or something like that. So that is the very hot area right now. So there are like quite a few opportunities right now with data informatics. So just think from, you guys are studying really great science, and I was part of this team, family before. If you can just expand your knowledge a little bit outside of, okay, so I'm already good at science. You guys are, I can see you are like the brightest guys in this room. But if you can expand a little bit of your knowledge to the data informatics side, anything, I mean, it could be basically familiarizing or any statistical package. That's where the world is, okay? So I was talking with some folks in engineering college. I was telling, okay, so you're a mechanical engineer, you're an electrical engineer, you're a computer engineer. So the world, at least the Western world, is not looking for one person with like deep knowledge in one thing. The demand is cross hybrid. Okay, so like I'm a mechanical engineer, but I know IT. The same way you're a biotech graduate, but you know IT. So think about like so many biotech companies and all. They look for people who can not only just do the science, but also do the informatics side. It will be part of your life. Trust me on that. It's always fascinating too. Just to give you some pointers, it is the URL, and I will leave that information with Dr. Sendil also. So this morning, I just looked at, okay, what are all the postdoc positions within our lab? And of course, there are like quite a few, and I actually searched for biotech, and these are the things that came. Even though our lab is a national lab, and it's tough to get in, but I have so many folks from India. They actually got into postdoc directly or through a university. So that's the best way to get into organization like this. So get into there as a postdoc and study the atmosphere and do well, and you'll be better than me. And you can come back and do this lecture, I guess, or talk. That's all. I'll go and start.